Her hands were shaking, not loud shaking, quiet shaking. The kind you notice only when you stop listening to words and start watching faces. Jasmine was sitting there, speaking in full sentences, but her body was telling a different story. And right when viewers leaned in to understand why, the show moved on. No explanation. No follow-up. Silence. That silence hit harder than any argument ever did on this franchise. Because this was not drama noise. This felt like pressure. Something shifted in that episode, and most people missed it the first time. The energy felt tighter. Conversations ended early. Smiles did not land. Jasmine looked like someone measuring every word before letting it out. And then, there is the quiet outside the episode. No playful posts. No promo hype. No usual online presence. When a reality star known for being loud goes quiet, fans do not relax. They lean closer. And once they leaned closer, they started connecting dots that the show never spelled out. People expected chaos. Instead, they got restraint. And restraint on reality TV never shows up for no reason. The cameras kept rolling, but answers stopped coming. Jasmine reacted like someone carrying weight she could not put down on screen. Gino sat beside her, careful, too careful. The vibe was not explosive. It was controlled. And controlled behavior in a situation built on conflict feels like a warning sign. Everyone felt it before anyone said it. Something serious was happening, and no one was allowed to say it out loud. The episode never explained why the tension felt heavier than usual. It never told viewers what shifted behind the scenes. But the absence of clarity became the loudest signal of all. That is when the panic started. Not because of proof, because of pattern. And once you notice the silence, you cannot unsee it. Fans replayed the episode. Second watch. Third watch. Pausing on facial expressions. Rewinding moments where conversations cut off too clean. This was not messy editing. This was careful editing. The kind that avoids stepping on something sensitive. That is when speculation picked up speed. Not wild theories. Measured concern. The kind that grows when answers refuse to show up. Jasmine did not look angry. She did not look dramatic. She looked alert. Like someone waiting for a clock to run out. Every smile felt practiced. Every reaction felt contained. People who follow this show know her patterns. When she is upset, she explodes. When she is hurt, she cries. This was different. This was restraint. And restraint often shows up when stakes sit outside the relationship. Then there was the timing. The episode aired. And then, nothing. No online reaction. No jokes. No defending herself. No teasing future drama. For someone whose online presence usually fills the gap between episodes, the absence felt intentional. Silence does not confirm anything. But silence invites interpretation. And viewers filled that space fast. What made this unsettling was not what the show said. It was what the show avoided. Topics brushed past. Questions softened. The future talked around instead of talked through. Even casual plans sounded vague. The kind of vague that feels rehearsed. The kind that suggests off-camera guidance. And when fans sense guidance, they start asking why. The episode did not show the turning point, but the tension proves one happened. Here is the question that started spreading quietly across fan spaces, without headlines, without shouting. What if this was not about the relationship at all? What if this tension came from somewhere the show could not legally touch? That thought changed how people watched every scene after. Suddenly, the anxiety made sense. The caution made sense. Even the editing made sense. Nobody confirmed anything. Nobody denied anything. And that is exactly why this moment feels bigger than a normal storyline. When facts stay out of reach, behavior becomes evidence in the court of public opinion. And once that happens, perception starts moving faster than truth ever could. Most viewers finish the episode feeling unsettled without knowing why. That feeling was not accidental. The clues were there, but only if you watched past the dialogue. And the one detail almost everyone missed on first watch is the same detail raising alarms now. Because once you spot it, the entire episode reads differently. Before this episode, the story felt loud in a familiar way. Arguments spilled out. Emotions ran hot. Jasmine cried, yelled, laughed, then cried again. Gino stumbled through awkward moments. You knew the rhythm. Even when things went wrong, the show held your hand through it. This time, the hand let go. Episode 23 opened like any other, but the tone shifted fast. Not with a big fight. With hesitation. Conversation started normal, then slowed. Sentences landed softer. People paused more than they spoke. Think back to the opening scenes. Nothing explosive happened, no table flips, no screaming match, yet the mood felt heavy. Jasmine spoke carefully, like each word cost something. Gino nodded a lot, spoke less, and avoided details. When future plans came up, answers stayed vague. Not confused vague, guarded vague. That is a key difference. Confusion rambles. Guarded speech trims itself down. The editing played a quiet role here. Scenes cut earlier than expected. Conversations that usually stretch got wrapped up fast. Questions floated without landing. The camera moved on before emotions peaked. That is unusual for this franchise. The show normally milks tension. Here, tension got capped. When producers stop pressing, viewers should start asking why. There is also a shift in humor. The light moments felt forced. Jokes landed flat. Smiles showed up late. Jasmine laughed, but her eyes stayed alert. Gino smiled, but his shoulders stayed tight. Body language rarely lies. People can script words. Bodies follow instinct. And instinct, in this episode, screamed caution. This episode did not feel calm. It felt contained. For casual viewers, nothing looked broken on the surface. The relationship still existed. The wedding talk floated around. The day moved forward. But longtime viewers felt the difference right away. Something was missing. The chaos that normally drives this couple had gone quiet. And quiet is uncomfortable when you expect noise. One moment stood out to fans who rewatched closely. A discussion about plans started, then stopped. Not resolved. Not argued. Stopped. The camera cut. No explanation. That is not how reality television usually works. Producers chase conflict. They do not dodge it unless there is a reason. And when a show dodges, it usually protects something bigger than storyline drama. The body language told its own story. Jasmine sat straighter than usual. Less movement. Less impulsive reaction. She listened more than she spoke. That is not her usual pattern. Gino leaned back, avoided eye contact during certain questions. Answered with short phrases. None of this proves anything. But patterns exist for a reason. When patterns break, attention follows. If you watched casually, you saw a slow episode. If you watched closely, you saw alarms. What made this episode feel different was not one big moment. It was a collection of small ones. A glance held too long. A topic skipped too fast. A reaction muted when it usually explodes. These are the kinds of signals people miss on first watch because the show does not point them out. You only catch them when you stop waiting for drama and start watching behavior. There is also an emotional mismatch. The situation on screen called for stronger reactions. Big decisions. Big feelings. But the responses stayed measured. Almost rehearsed. That disconnect made viewers uneasy. When emotion does not match circumstance, something else fills the gap. Light humor still existed, but it felt like a cover. A way to keep things moving without opening doors that should stay closed. Jasmine cracked a smile, then pulled back. Gino joked lightly, then went quiet. The tone never fully relaxed. It hovered. And hovering tension is harder to shake than open conflict. This is where new viewers need grounding. Nothing illegal was shown, No claims were made, no outcomes were stated. Everything stayed within the frame of normal life. And yet, the vibe changed. That change is the story. Not what happened, but how it was handled. The show did not tell you something was wrong. It let you feel it instead. By the end of the episode, many viewers could not explain why they felt unsettled. They just knew they did. That reaction did not come from rumors or online chatter. It came straight from what aired. From pauses. From cuts. From restraint. The signals sat in plain sight, waiting for someone to connect them. And there is one moment, barely a moment, easy to miss, that flips the entire episode on its head. Once you catch it, the careful words, the quiet edits, the guarded smiles all line up. That single overlooked detail changes how everything before and after feels. And once you see it, you cannot watch the episode the same way again. Jasmine has never been subtle on screen. When she feels something, the audience feels it too. Her emotions usually move first, and her words chase after them. Anger erupts. Tears flow fast. Reactions spill out before she has time to filter them. That is the pattern viewers learned over seasons, which is why this episode felt so unsettling. Because the emotions were there, but they were being held back. She spoke slower. Not calmer, slower. There is a difference. Calmness relaxes the body. Slowness tightens it. Her shoulders stayed lifted. Her hands stayed close to her body. She paused before answering questions she would normally jump into. These are not dramatic tells. They are protective ones. The kind that show up when someone is trying not to say the wrong thing. Anxiety does not always look like panic. Sometimes it looks like control. Control over tone. Control over expression. Control over reaction. Jasmine did not lose her temper when viewers expected her to. She redirected. She softened. She smiled and moved on. And for someone known for emotional honesty, that restraint felt louder than any outburst. When someone stops reacting the way they always have, it is worth paying attention. Her eyes gave away more than her words. They tracked movement in the room. They checked Gino's reactions before finishing sentences. She adjusted mid-thought. This is not manipulation. This is self-monitoring. The kind that happens when stakes feel high and consequences feel close. Viewers did not see fear. They saw awareness. Compare that to her past episodes. When upset, Jasmine usually confronts immediately. She pushes conversations to the edge. She demands clarity. Here, she avoided escalation. Topics drifted, and she let them go. That is not avoidance out of weakness. It reads like avoidance out of necessity. There were moments where you could almost see her choosing silence. A question landed. She inhaled. She answered something adjacent instead of direct. Then she smiled and shifted the moment. Many viewers felt that discomfort without knowing why. It is unsettling to watch someone restrain themselves when you are used to seeing them unfiltered. Ask yourself this while watching. Was she calmer, or was she careful? This is where empathy matters. Behavior under stress does not always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like someone trying to keep the ground from moving. Jasmine did not look checked out. She looked present. Too present. Like someone monitoring every move because mistakes matter more than usual. Viewers also noticed the absence of emotional release. No tears, no blow-ups, no cathartic moment. That does not mean she was fine. It suggests she could not afford to be unfiltered. That distinction changes everything. Stress comes and goes. Pressure sits and waits. Some fans initially wrote it off as maturity, growth, therapy. And that explanation would make sense if it felt relaxed. But this did not feel relaxed. It felt tight. Growth usually brings ease. This brought caution. And caution raises a different set of questions. The show never framed this as a transformation. No commentary. No acknowledgement. Which left viewers doing the work themselves. Watching her hold back became its own storyline, even though the show never named it. And once people noticed, they could not stop noticing. This did not look like someone learning to communicate better. It looked like someone watching their words. Then, there was the silence between lines. Not awkward silence, weighted silence. Moments where the room felt full of things not being said. Jasmine filled some of it with small talk. Humor. Quick shifts. That behavior reads as protective, not playful. The emotional hook landed because viewers recognized the mismatch. They have watched her for years. This was not her default setting. And when someone changes their default under pressure, it usually means the pressure comes from somewhere new. Was this just stress from filming? From life changes? Or was something heavier sitting just outside the frame? The episode never answered that. It let the question linger. And that question pulled viewers deeper than any argument ever could. The shift did not belong to Jasmine alone. Because as the episode continued, something else happened. Gino, usually awkward but verbal, began to pull back too. His energy dropped. His responses shortened. And in one quiet moment, he stopped filling space altogether. Fans noticed that pause immediately. And once you understand why that pause mattered, the episode takes on a completely different weight. Not Gino has never been the emotional driver in this relationship. He fills space when Jasmine explodes, not the other way around. Awkward jokes, nervous explanations, oversharing when things get tense. That has always been his role. Which is why his silence in this episode stood out immediately. Not because it looked guilty, because it looked deliberate. When questions came his way, he answered, but only just enough. Short phrases, soft tone, no tangents, no nervous rambling. He stayed inside safe territory. That is not avoidance. That is boundary setting. And boundary setting usually appears when someone understands the consequences of saying too much. There is a simple truth about long-term partners. When one person is under pressure, the other becomes a shield. Not a spokesperson, a shield. Gino's restraint read less like fear and more like responsibility. He watched Jasmine closely. He adjusted his answers based on her reactions. He let her lead even when he usually fills the silence. Silence is not always hiding something. Sometimes it is holding something together. From a fair perspective, there are normal reasons for this behavior. Stress from filming. Fatigue. Advice from producers to keep things light. Couples change. People grow quieter as stakes rise. None of these explanations are wild. They are grounded. And they deserve space. But here's where tension creeps in. Gino did not just speak less. He deflected. When topics drifted toward the future, he stayed vague. When emotions hovered, he redirected. When Jasmine paused, he paused longer. This is not passive behavior. It is active restraint. Spousal responsibility comes into play here. When someone you love might be vulnerable, you protect them. You do not push. You do not clarify on camera. You let moments pass. Especially when cameras are rolling and words cannot be taken back. That instinct is human. And many viewers felt sympathy rather than suspicion when watching him. The problem is not the silence. It is the pattern of silence. Gino's quiet moments stacked up. One answer clipped short. Then another. Then a conversation ended early. Then a subject never returned. In isolation, each moment feels harmless. Together, they create weight, and weight invites interpretation whether it deserves it or not. There was also a visible shift in energy. His posture closed, he leaned back, his eyes checked the room before responding. That does not mean wrongdoing, it means awareness. Awareness of context, awareness of limits, awareness of risk. And when viewers sense risk, fear follows close behind. The show framed none of this as serious. No dramatic music, no confessionals spelling out concern. Everything played normal. But normal presentation, paired with abnormal behavior, creates cognitive dissonance. Viewers feel something is off, but are given no explanation. That gap becomes a breeding ground for anxiety. When a show refuses to name the tension, the audience does it for them. Here's the counterpoint that matters. If something serious were happening, why show any of this at all? Why not cut it completely? Why allow moments that fuel speculation? The answer could be simple. Life does not pause for editing plans. Cameras capture what they capture. Producers can soften edges, but they cannot erase energy. Gino's silence may not mean danger. It may mean discipline. It may mean advice from legal teams. It may mean he was told, directly or indirectly, to keep things vague. None of that implies guilt. It implies caution. And caution exists for many reasons that have nothing to do with scandal. Yet fear does not care about fairness. Fear feeds on unknowns, and viewers were given plenty of those. The show never clarified why conversations felt restricted. It never addressed the sudden shift in tone. It simply moved forward as if nothing changed. That disconnect made people uneasy. The most unsettling part is not what Gino said. It is what he did not say when the moment called for reassurance. When partners usually step in to calm viewers, he stayed quiet. When explanations could have softened tension, he held back. That choice, intentional or not, left space. And space invites worst-case thinking. Sometimes protection and panic look exactly the same from the outside. By the end of the episode, the silence between them felt louder than any argument they have ever had. Not because it accused them of anything, but because it suggested something happened that the audience was not meant to see. Something that changed how they moved, spoke, and reacted. Whatever that off-camera moment was, it shaped everything that followed. The behavior, the edits, the tone. And once you accept that possibility, the episode stops being confusing and starts feeling carefully managed. The real story may not be in what aired at all, but in what never made it onto the screen. After the episode aired, viewers did what they always do now. They checked social media, not out of gossip, but habit. Jasmine has never treated the show as something that exists only on television. Her online presence usually runs parallel to the episodes. Commentary, teasers, emotional reactions, sometimes messy, sometimes funny, always present. That rhythm stopped, not slowed, stopped. Days passed without her usual posts tied to the episode. No behind-the-scenes clips, no defending herself, no playful exaggeration of drama. Even her tone shifted when she did appear. Short captions, neutral language. Nothing that pulled attention back to the show. For fans used to her expressive online style, the absence felt louder than a meltdown ever could. Digital silence is not proof of anything. But timing matters. And this silence lined up too cleanly with the on-screen shift to ignore. Viewers did not panic immediately. They observed. They compared. Past seasons showed consistency. When Jasmine felt misunderstood, she spoke up. When she felt emotional, she shared. When she felt attacked, she reacted. This time, nothing. When someone known for oversharing goes quiet, people start listening harder. Gino's presence online softened too. Fewer comments, less engagement, no playful back and forth. Couples on this franchise often use social media to reassure viewers when episodes feel tense. A photo, a caption, a wink to the audience that says everything is fine. That reassurance never came. Fans began tracking patterns, not rumors. Gaps between posts. Changes in language. Shifts in location tags. This is not new behavior. Reality TV audiences have learned to read digital footprints because the shows themselves rarely give full context. When viewers feel something is missing on screen, they look off screen. Panama became part of that conversation quietly. Not as a headline, as a question. Old photos resurfaced. Timelines were compared. Fans noticed connections that had always existed, but now felt newly relevant because of the silence. Again, nothing was claimed. But curiosity grew legs. The absence of promotion mattered too. Network-driven shows rely on cast engagement. When that engagement drops during sensitive episodes, viewers notice. It does not mean rebellion. It does not mean punishment. It can mean boundaries. And boundaries tell a story of their own. Online silence turns into a narrative when it breaks a pattern. What made this feel different was how collective the reaction became. Not one loud account. Not one viral post. Small comments across platforms asking the same question in different words. Is something going on? Why does this feel off? Did anyone else notice she disappeared? Silence invites projection. People fill gaps with their own fears. That does not make the fears true, but it explains why they spread, especially when the show itself offers no reassurance, no interviews, no clarifying confessionals, no post-episode commentary. The longer the quiet lasted, the heavier it felt. Viewers were not just waiting for content. They were waiting for tone, for emotional cues, for something to reset the energy. And without that reset, speculation hardened. It is important to say this clearly. Digital silence does not equal crisis. People step back for many healthy reasons. Mental health, legal advice, personal boundaries. None of those deserve judgment. But reality TV blurs the line between personal and public. When someone has trained an audience to expect access, withdrawal feels intentional even when it is necessary. Silence does not confirm fear, but it gives fear room to grow. And then the rumor appeared. Not as a headline, as a whisper. One theory that seemed to explain everything too neatly. It connected the on-screen restraint, the off-screen silence, and the careful edits into one narrative. It spread fast not because it was proven, but because it filled the gap the show left behind. Once that idea entered the conversation, everything changed. Because now viewers were not just watching behavior. They were reinterpreting it. And the next piece of the story explains why that rumor caught fire so quickly, and why it refused to die once it did. At the center of the panic was a number that spread faster than context ever could. 48 hours. It sounded official, urgent, final. And once that number entered the conversation, fear took over logic. Fans began treating a procedural window like a countdown clock, even though no one could point to a document, a statement, or a confirmed trigger. Here's where confusion set in. Many legal and immigration processes involve short response windows, not punishments, not verdicts, deadlines. Deadlines exist everywhere in adult life. Miss one and paperwork moves forward. Meet one and nothing happens at all. But online, deadlines do not read as neutral. They read as doom. The rumor took a procedural concept and turned it into a consequence. That leap is human. When people already feel uneasy, they attach meaning to anything that explains the discomfort. The episode felt off. The social media went quiet. The behavior changed. A 48-hour window felt like the missing piece, even if no one could verify it. Fear does not wait for confirmation. It looks for coherence. What is important here is what was actually confirmed. No public filing. No official notice. No statement from the network. No legal document surfaced. Nothing concrete tied Jasmine to an outcome. And yet, the panic felt real, because emotionally, it made sense to viewers trying to understand what they were seeing. Fans began counting days, tracking silence, reading into neutral actions. Every hour without a post felt heavier. Every absence felt intentional. This is how process gets mistaken for punishment. The internet does not pause to separate possibility from probability. At the same time, it would be dishonest to say the fear came from nowhere. The show's restraint created a vacuum. The digital quiet reinforced it. When institutions stay silent, people assume seriousness. Silence can mean privacy. It can also mean preparation. Without context, viewers chose the explanation that matched their anxiety. The rumor did not spread because it was proven. It spread because it fit the mood. This is where responsibility matters. It is easy to dramatize timelines. It is harder to explain systems. Procedures are boring. Panic is engaging. And reality TV audiences live at the intersection of emotion and speculation. They are trained to look for signs before announcements arrive. To be clear, nothing publicly confirmed that a deadline led to a punishment. Nothing showed that silence equaled enforcement. But the emotional logic was already set. Once people believed time mattered, every quiet moment felt like a ticking clock. What made those 48 hours feel unbearable was not what happened during them. It was what did not happen. No reassurance, no clarification, no visible normalcy. The absence of calming signals let fear breathe, even without evidence to feed it. And that leads to the question viewers started asking quietly, then louder. If nothing was wrong, why did the show handle the episode this way? Why the restraint? Why the careful edits? Why the silence across platforms? Because whether the fear was justified or not, it was reacting to something real. A shift. A pause. A decision somewhere upstream. So the tension no longer centers on Jasmine or Gino. It turns toward the machine behind the curtain. What did the network know about this moment? And when did they know it? Longtime viewers did not wake up anxious for no reason. They recognized a pattern. TLC has dealt with cast trouble before. And when trouble hits, the network behavior follows a familiar script. Less explanation. Fewer interviews. Editing grows careful. Statements get delayed or disappear. Silence stretches longer than usual. None of this proves wrongdoing, but it does teach audiences how to read the room. When legal issues touch a cast member, networks protect themselves first. They avoid specifics. They reduce exposure. They keep language clean. This is not cruelty. This is risk management. The audience has seen this play out across franchises. So when the same quiet showed up here, people connected dots based on history, not imagination. What made this moment heavier was how subtle the editing felt. Scenes cut early. Conversations stopped mid-thought. Reactions lingered without payoff. Normally, reality shows explain tension. This time, they framed it and walked away. That choice alone told viewers something was off, even if no one said it out loud. Fans were not inventing fear. They were responding to a pattern they had learned over years. The network never confirmed a crisis. But they also did not rush to calm anyone down. In past situations, silence often arrived before clarity. Sometimes months passed before answers surfaced. Sometimes answers never came on screen at all. Viewers remember that. Memory shapes expectation. This is where credibility forms. Not from a rumor, from repetition. When the same production moves appear again, audiences treat them like signals. It becomes less about this specific case and more about how the machine behaves under pressure. Still, fairness matters. Silence can protect privacy. Editing choices can serve story pacing. Networks stay quiet for many reasons. Not every pause signals danger. That counterpoint deserves space. But even with that balance, the unease sticks because the cues feel familiar. The episode did not scream crisis. It whispered restraint. And restraint is louder than chaos for seasoned viewers. Which brings everything back to the simplest image from the episode. Jasmine sitting there, composed but tight, eyes alert, energy contained, no meltdown, no jokes, no release, just control. The face viewers almost skipped past, because if you replay that moment, without sound, without context, without rumors, the question changes. Not what happened next, but why she looked like someone bracing for something she could not talk about yet. Jasmine's face tells more than words ever could. Every glance, every small pause, feels loaded. Living under constant cameras is pressure enough, But add the weight of immigration uncertainty, and the stress multiplies. You can see it in the way she adjusts her posture, in the tightness around her eyes, in the careful way she speaks. It is not drama for drama's sake. It is a human reacting to being watched while navigating rules she cannot control. Reality TV turns personal stress into public spectacle. Moments that would normally pass unnoticed are now broadcast, analyzed, and dissected. Fans comment on timing, tone, even clothing choices. Every post or missed post becomes a story. The fear, the tension, the restraint, it all feels amplified because cameras make private stress look larger than life. And yet, it is possible to feel for her without excusing every choice. Accountability exists alongside empathy. Gino's careful deflections, her own measured reactions, they are understandable under pressure, but they also leave gaps. Those gaps are where viewers' imagination fills in the blanks, sometimes leaning toward fear. We see her anxiety, we sense the tension, and it becomes easy to assume the worst, even if nothing has been legally confirmed. For fans who have faced uncertainty, this resonates deeply. That sensation of waiting, of watching small cues, of piecing together fragments, it is relatable, but magnified on television. We recognize ourselves in it, which is why the episode hits so hard. The human side of these stories often gets lost in gossip, yet here it is front and center. The emotional fallout is subtle, but persistent. Not every viewer will put it into words, but almost everyone notices it. The shift in tone, the weight of caution, the moments where anxiety leaks through composure. These are the beats that matter, the ones that stay with you long after the credits roll. And just when you think you understand the pressure, you realize the resolution is still out of reach. What happens off camera could change everything, but it has yet to be revealed.